Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to be here with you guys to do a live video, and it's not going to be on XRP. All right, let's start off with the first comments. It's going to be from the one and only Tim Shea, who sprays from far away. Good to see you, Mayor of Crypto, Tim Shea. How you doing tonight, Tim? All right, Crypto Commissioner in the house. Represent the 589th district of the XRP Army, right? You know how it goes. Good to see you, Tim. Boom. We have Brittany in the house. She says happy Tuesday, 6:49 p.m. Not too long ago. Happy Tuesday to you as well, Ms. Brittany. All right. Thank you for being here. All right. Mark says, hey, how you doing? I'm doing all right. Not too bad. Good to have you back, Mr. Mark. Thank you. Thank you. And Goo is back. Welcome. Goo, God, the Degenerate Alien PTGC Titan X H Bar. Good morning, bro. Well, it's nighttime here, but maybe where you're at, it is morning. So welcome back. Glad to have you, Goo. Glad to have you back. All right. We also got the one and only Mr. Crypto Holmes 777 in the house. Welcome back, Crypto Holmes. Appreciate you being here. Hey, where Vincent says, what up, Maximus Crypto? What up? What up? What up? Good to have you here. Welcome back, Mr. Squidward. And we also got Crypto Info _DYOR. Give him a sub over at his platform on YouTube, just like you see. That's his channel. So, what up, Max? We in here. Yes. Biz the Moon live from the metaverse. Good to see you back, Biz. And OG Crypto is in the house. Just going to welcome a few more of you guys before we kick it into what we have for the night. As you guys can see, the three that are tagged are BSV, Stellar's XLM, and yes, as promised, Stronghold. Finally doing one about Stronghold. So, yeah, let's welcome a few more of you guys. But good to see, Mr. OG Crypto Gangsta. Jim Miller says, what's happening? It's a nice looking dog. I pointed that out before. Salamander XTC Commander is in the house. And what else we got up in here? It's always good morning in Web3, bro. Ah, okay. That's a good point. I'll have to remember that next time. All right. Gerald is back. He says, hi, Max and everyone. Welcome back, Gerald. Appreciate you. Dreamer is here. Hey, Max and everyone. And yes, your SHX. All right. Mr. Lambo's Crypto Talk is also in the house. Glad to have you guys here tonight. All right. So what we're going to do now is kindly remind you guys to make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure that you smash that like because it does help to get the broadcast out to a broader base. Currently speaking, we are at 11 likes. So we could definitely use some more to get this out to a broader base. All right. What we're also going to do is just kind of give you guys a heads up. Probably do it like once a week. I'm not going to wear you out with it every day, but at least once a week, possibly twice, but at least once. So basically, you guys have asked me in the past, which cold storage do I use? Well, in the past, it was Ledger, but I have chosen to go with the Decent wallet because I think it's just a lot more easier to use. And I also like the idea that you have, for instance, your all-in-one app, list everything. How about this, guys? XDC. You don't have to do the whole custom folder thing anymore, like you did with the Ledger, right? A lot more simpler. And yeah, so if you're interested in it, I understand, some people like it, maybe some people don't. You guys have other solutions. For me, it's my second solution, but it's my primary one right now. And basically speaking, let's show you what I'm talking about. So for one, here it is. It is the Decent Wallet biometric wallet. You can get a discount from Maximus Crypto. I don't know why they misspelled my name, but that's okay. No worries. You know what I mean? We're not perfect. But nonetheless, yeah, you can get one for right there if you choose to do so. Links are in the description that you see. And on top of that, if you wanted to get a second one, there's even more of a discount, right? Man, I miss crypto. It's okay. I don't hold it against them. Anyway, check that out if you choose to do so. Like I mentioned, the 24-word C phrase does take a little bit of time, but it's well worth it. And you know what? I know some people are saying that, the biometrics didn't work for them. Actually, worked for me. and I didn't think it was too much of a trouble. So I'm so far liking it a lot better than my leisure. But hey, teach his own. But if this is something that you're looking for, check it out. Again, some of you guys keep asking me which cold storage solution do you go with, and so on. So definitely give it you know a look through if you choose to do so. So there's that one, and of course this one, which is for two. All right. Let's go ahead and let's get into um, the coverage that we have for you guys tonight. Basically speaking, there's a lot more that meets the eyes, as saying goes. So let's pull up the overall crypto market from the one and only, uh, coin market cap. So let's pull this up. Here we go. Straight from there. So we're sitting at 1.7 trillion, and we're in the greed, basically, not extreme greed, but greed. I will go ahead and blow this up a little bit more because I know it's kind of shrunk down. So you guys, we've seen this all the way to the far right, basically, not the extreme far right, but where it was extreme greed a while back. But these numbers that you see, this is what I want to point out to you guys. Okay, so if anything, we're going to get into all of this here in a bit, and let's take you actually over to the Investor Place report. Yes, it's Tuesday. I meant to give you guys this report yesterday. Was out with some friends for the first time in a couple of years all together. It was pretty cool. Sometimes you got to live life, right? So here's the thing, okay? I want to point out, basically speaking, that there's some things that Investor Place dropped that's very worth paying attention to. So we're going to pull that up. Here it is. And if anything, I'll actually put some branding on. You may be wondering, why am I tying BSV into all this? It's all going to make sense. So for one, let's get into this report. Pull up the branding real quick for just a moment. And like it says, weekly update. What is the weekly update? Crypto's due for short-term pain, long-term gain after ETF approval. Now, you guys did see that in the description. That's how I titled it. There's a reason why I titled it this way. A lot of data to share here. We're going to get through it. It's not going to be a big, huge outline on the Investor Place part, but it will move swiftly through and make sense when it comes to the BSV segment. So the market is ripe with opportunities for those who navigate it with patience. Very true. Reported originally on January 13th, just a couple days ago. But yeah, we do know that the SEC finally approved 11 Bitcoin ETFs, at least last week. They did have a warning from Investor Place that they felt as though that all of them would be approved. That actually happened. So say what you want. Investor Place had it right again. They're really calling it when it comes to that. But look at this. Highly anticipated approval actually resulted in big short-term sell-off in the crypto assets. Some of you guys who, DM me on X stating like, hey, man, I thought we are going to get like this big upswing action and so on. Well, it didn't help any that Vanguard pulled out of that. I'm not going to talk about that tonight because we talked about last week, but I want to point out some of these key things. Like it says, BTC briefly spiked to 49K after the approval. That is true. Then it crashed to 43K. Most altcoins followed a similar trajectory. And I know you guys have been pointing some of this stuff out. Some of you guys even pointed out some of the short-term things that are going on, right? Like on X, sharing it wherever, right? But it did drop throughout Thursday and, of course, Friday of last week. Here's a representation of where BTC retreated from the 2-year high, basically. And, of course, as always, this is cited from Bloomberg Finance, if you're wondering where we're getting these charts. Going further down, the most obvious sell the news event ever, if you want to call it that. I've seen some crazy ones in the past as well. But, in a recent memory, this is pretty significant, right? As Investor Place said last week, everyone saw this approval coming, and it's in their own experience in financial markets that when everyone expects something and that something does eventually happen, the short-term reaction is markets is usually the opposite of what everyone expects. Is this basically a Kramer moment? Well, to each his own, right? The consensus opinion was that Bitcoin ETF approval would cause a BTC price surge. We therefore predicted the opposite, saying last week that Bitcoin ETF approval would cause a BTC price drop. I do remember them saying that that was true also. Things are playing exactly as, of course, they expected. What about for us? What is next from what has happened last week, and where are we going with all this here? Like, do we see anything significant this coming week? Well, pump your brakes on that one. Look more into this. Look at this for a second. Technical evidence, which we'll show you further down in this chart, suggests that BTC needs to consolidate around this crucial 42K mark. Now, for some of you guys who are like BSVs, wanting the BSV news and so on, we're going to get more into that in a second, but we're always pointing out, of course, what's going on with the overall crypto market. I mean, let's face it, guys, 80 to 81% overall crypto market still is circulated around, or focused, I should say, on the likes of BTC and Ethereum, whether you're for them or not. All right, what about this whole thing on the short term? BTC's relative strength index, RSI, has dropped, of course, below 50 and continues to weaken. And if anything, we will point more of that out here in a bit. The MACD has reconverged in a negative manner and looks poised for a bearish crossover above the 0-1. So that's why I titled the thumbnail, to the moon or Mountain Doom. A little mixed on that, right? But look at this for a second. The 20-day moving average is starting to roll over. The recent attempt to take out 50K failed. So is it really doom? Well, again, look at this for a second. The bulk of the technical data tells us that after a massive pre-ETF approval rally, BTC needs to now cool off and will likely consolidate around 42K for a few weeks. Now, I do want to point this out. Last time Investor Place said we're going to have consolidation for I guess it was a few weeks or a month. That actually didn't happen, and things started to pop off a lot more sooner. Could this be another example? Well, we'll see. I mean, they're not, fortune tellers, and neither am I. It's just information, right? Don't take it as financial advice ever, please. Here's the data. They state that they think BTC needs to consolidate, like I mentioned, around that 42K mark. You do see what's going on, for instance, point out in the top right area of this chart, again, cited from Bloomberg. It also states this would be a very consistent type thing with what happened with the first gold ETF. A little bit of a history lesson, but it's worth pointing out, right? That was approved back in late 2004. Do you guys remember that? Were you, paying attention more like stocks, bonds, precious metals even back then? I know some of you guys are really into silver, gold, and so on, right? But the point is, the first gold ETF, if you remember this, was approved on November 18th. Back in 2004. Now, that, of course, was an election year. Gold prices rose strongly into that approval. Now, the reason why I point out it's election year, we're also now in an election year, literally 20 years later. From May to November of that year, gold rose more than 20%, which is a pretty big move, of course, for gold. But, if you're into crypto and you've been into more than one bull market, you've seen way more gains than that, or you've seen way more losses, depending on when you got in, right? After the approval, though, gold dropped, and we'll show you what we mean with this. It retreated all the way back to its 200-day moving average over the next 2 months. Then, of course, gold boomed. And look at this for a second on the chart. Let's just double check. You can see this okay. Yeah, you do. And yeah, first gold ETF approval led to short-term pain, but long-term gain for gold prices. That's, again, the topic of the night. A lot of data to be shown there. I mean, you see it literally all the way back from that particular time of 2004. You see it on the orange line. You got this whole data of roughly November 18, 2004. Let's face it, that would have been roughly a couple weeks after the 2004 election. Okay. Investor Place feels as though a similar dynamic will likely unfold with BTC following the approval of its first ETFs. Short-term pain over the next few weeks, followed by long-term gain over the next 2 years. Are you paper handing all this stuff? That's the bottom line. If you made it this far in this marathon of what we're into, why would you all of a sudden just give up now? I mean, if anything, you have been thought out a crypto winner. Are you really going to give it to the FUD? I don't think you are, but maybe there's a few that will. This theory is bolstered by the strong BTC ETF net inflows on Thursday of last week. On their first day of trading, BTC ETFs saw 655 million of net inflows. For comparison, like it says, gold ETFs saw 470 million of net inflows in its first day of trading. And I love how they cite this because you want to know something? As the saying goes, learn from history. Even though this has to do with gold ETFs, it's still worth pointing out. Just like we always point out the whole thing of what's going on with these these reports in regards to inflation and everything, and we're still paying attention to that. The high inflow, or I should say, the high volume of inflow suggests that strong demand for these specific products, which corroborates survey data that, of course, Investor Place cited last week. They suggest that lots of fund managers will buy these ETFs over the next few months to increase client exposure to cryptos. Now, a lot of us, of course, are paying attention to what are the next things that we see in regards to these ETFs. Like, what products are next? Is it Ethereum? Is it XRP? Teach his own. But what is important to note is what we see here, that the inflows were uneven. And listen to this, guys. This is a big figure. 90% of the net inflows were driven by just 3 ETFs. Look at this. The Bitwise Bitcoin ETF, which is BITB, the Fidelity Wise Origin Bitcoin Fund, FBTC, and the iShares Bitcoin Trust, IBIT. 2 more ETFs, the ARK21 Shares Bitcoin ETF, which is ARK-B, and Franklin Bitcoin ETF, which is EZBC. Kind of a funny name. Accounted for essentially all remaining inflows. Now look at this. In other words, what does that mean for you in layman's terms? Pretty much all net inflows have thus far been driven by 5 ETFs. Yes, you heard that right, 5. The other 6 have seen very little interest or, of course, demand. Now, does this mean to focus on certain ones? Possibly. And I think they're going to point that out here in a bit. Now, you see the data shown here, especially when it comes to that one of Bitwise, and of course, Fidelity, part of the mix, and so on. But I would agree with that. The demand for those particular ones that were mentioned is an absolute night and day difference compared to the other. Me personally, I wish I would have seen a lot more demand from Wisdom Tree, but if you really think about it, right? Like maybe there'd be more demand if there is some other type of ETPs, as in exchange traded products, in the future for some of these ETFs. Going further down, you do see the whole thing from Grayscale. It was a negative 95.07. And there's the figures again from Bloomberg. This brings us to different theses that we have basically. About half of the BTC ETFs that were approved this last week will be defunct within a year. That's crazy because there's a lot of emphasis to get these things approved, right? We can agree to disagree on some of these figures, but the data, is there. As the saying goes, math don't lie. There's simply far too many Bitcoin ETFs right now. Is there? Would you agree with that? Teach his own. Let me know what you think in the comments. But for context, there are 35 ETFs across the entire 14 trillion gold market. And this is why they reference the whole thing with gold, if you're wondering. So about 1 ETF for every 400 billion in market cap. And you still don't think that ETFs will bring in a lot towards the overall crypto market? Come on. There are now 11 ETFs across 850 billion Bitcoin market. So about 1 ETF for every 80 billion in market cap, worth pointing out, right? Too many ETFs will have too little value. Again, why were they focusing on those 5? But will that change in the future? We'll see. Basically, it's like this. If you're looking to buy into BTC ETF, which I don't think most of us are, but maybe there's a few of us, stick with one of the top 5, BITB, FBTC, IBIT, ARK-KB, or even EZBC, right? What they're stating from Investor Place once again is, meanwhile, let us not forget that we are now about 100 days away from the 4th halving, which is the real catalyst for cryptos in 2024. And let's just take a pause to see what's going on with that. So basically, there is a little thing here that says how soon, I believe that is. Let me just refresh that real quick. And why is it not showing? See, before the other day it was showing, but I think they're right about that. I think we're only about roughly 111, 100 so plus days away from the halving. All right, jumping back to this. Yeah, look at this. There has been a lot of fanfare about the ETS, true, and their approval, and reasonably so. But crypto boom cycles, like we've always pointed out, especially when it comes to 4 year cycles, are centered around the halving events. Yeah, they are. And the fourth one is on deck. And a lot of you guys feel as though it starts with that, then the inevitable utility run. Some people are still not on par with the whole idea and notion of a utility run. But you got to keep in mind, a utility run has never happened in the history of crypto. Will it finally happen after the dependency of BTC and Ethereum dominance end? I think, yeah, that answers that question, but to each his own. But look at this for a second. Days since cycle peak, you do see, for instance, the bottom at minus 75% after 395 days. You had bottom at minus 82% after 419 days in regards to the what's in the green, which is the 2017 cycle. The 2013 cycle, which is represented in blue, was what we just point out, the bottom at minus 75 after 394 days. And what you also see is the 2021, which is in the gray area, which is still technically the current cycle until we get into the next halving, right? There's a data on that. All right. And like it says in small print, this is, of course, cited from November 30th. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Well, no kidding. I mean, anything crazy could happen. It would affect some of the stuff, black swan events. You guys know how it goes. All right. A little bit more about this before we wrap up this segment and get to some of that BSV. We continue to maintain the outlook that Bitcoin, as in BTC, will finish the year around 100K. It's always been consistent with that. I've seen some crazy things over 250K. I think even Force put out a report, right? Over 1 million. Crazy stuff. But they will resume its climb after a temporary post-ETF approval breather over the next few weeks. I don't know. Let's face it. I mean, it could be a month, right? But if you're going to point out one thing that was wrong with the investor place, they didn't get right when it came to the consolidation. Whoop-de-doo. They therefore believe that the great buying opportunity that they have been waiting for is finally here. But let's face it, for most of us, is it really finally here? I mean, if you're the type of guy in which you just want to catch it right before everything blasts off, I guess you could say that's where we're finally here. For me personally, I was the type of guy I was like, no, I loaded up with on the time of like extreme fear, which let's face it, BTC being roughly around 15.8 during the time of the FTX fiasco, late 2022, right? Over the next few weeks, they fully expect to execute a series of new crypto trades that they view as the best cryptos to buy in 2024, capitalize on the fourth crypto boom cycle. I shared some of these picks they have. Obviously, Stellar is one of them and so on, but they have some other ones and so on. Like they've always been big on Solana. They've always been big on Cosmos. If you're just wondering some of the few that really stand out, Filecoin. They're particularly interested in cryptos in the overlap of blockchain and AI. I am as well. They've narrowed down their potential buy list for a few cryptos in that space. Of course, they want us to stay tuned and so on. But basically speaking, I wanted to share that with you because what we're going to do now is going to jump into the next segment in regards to the whole thing of tying this in with BSV. But we're going to take a quick pause because that was a lot to get into. Let's get into your comments for just a bit, see if we missed out on anything. Thank you guys so much for being here on this Taco Tuesday. And let's see what you guys have in the comments. All right. First of all, I do want to thank you guys for having pretty good attendance tonight. We haven't been here since Thursday, so 54 people. We do appreciate that. All right. What we're going to do now is welcome a few more of you guys. I think we saw some newcomers. There's also be some questions, of course. Goo says, have you seen hash on Hedera? It's been running. Now that we have HBAR on MetaMask, the floodgates are about to open and all the degens will be pouring in. No, I actually haven't seen that yet. I'll have to take more of a look into that. I do love some of the corny talk when it comes to, like the hash browns on Hash Graph and some of the NFTs. It's kind of funny, but I'm glad that you're pouring out. I'm glad that you're pointing it out. All right. We have Neo X Tricks, man. You attended the night. Neo X Tricks, man. I am so humbled by your appearance. Guys, if you're a part of the JASMY Navy, Army, Armed Forces, right? you definitely need to give a follow to our fellow brother Neo X Tricks. We cite his research quite often. You'll be followed over at the X platform. If you type in Neo X Tricks, you should be able to find him immediately. But he can also drop his Twitter handle, which I believe is Bana something something. So I don't have that memorized anyway. Let me actually just pull this up real quick. I think I know what it is. Bana something. What is it? Real quick. Bana A17 is what it is. So anyway. All right. We got River is in the house. Good to see you, River. Appreciate you being here, man. How's it going? And we also got the one only DNG, aka Daniel. He says, yo, yo. Yes, good to see you, Mr. DNG. Hello, hello. Richie Rich is in the house. Appreciate you guys being there. Mark says, Max, have a look at BSV's coin market cap description in about a founder section. CMC is now stating Craig is Satoshi. Ooh, okay. Well, maybe we can tie that in. Actually, let me see if I can pull up what you're talking about real quick in regards to BSV. BSV. He says in about section, huh? Well, we do Control F for Craig. Who are the founders? Let's do it again. Oh, yeah. I'll be darned. Yeah, it does mention something about that. All right, we'll put that up in a little bit. All right. Thank you for that one, Mark. NeoX Tricks. I see you guys later. It's 3 a.m. at my place. Time to sleep. You wanted to say hello, good evening. Oh, okay. Well, you're probably not here no more, then. That's all right. See you later, Mr. Neo. All right, Kev Cleveland. I haven't seen you in forever. Good to see you, Kev. What up, Maximilian and all? Good to have you, man. Welcome back. Welcome back. OG Crypto. Post his feed on X, guys and gals. Takes about 30 seconds. I do appreciate you guys doing that. I really, really do. And let's see here. Gabby is back. Hello, Max. JASMY to Mars. How about JASMY to Pluto? JASMY to the next galaxy. But yeah, we'll take it to Mars. That's a lot farther than the moon, right? But glad to have you from the recorded section to the live. That means a lot, Gabby. Appreciate you. Brian Dowie's in the house. He says, so, Max, good to have you back. And let's see here. Gold, no scam. All right. That's a funny one. Brian Atchison is in the house. Definitely remember you. Welcome back. And all right, we're gonna read maybe a couple more and we'll get into the outline. All right, let's see here. We got I think a couple familiar faces. Corey Bibe, aka Just Me Not a Scam. Good evening, future crypto millionaires bring great honor to Hara-san. Yes. Little known fact, I think it was last weekend. Yes, last weekend on Saturday night, I did go see the new Godzilla movie. Godzilla -1, and I'm telling you flat out, there's a difference. There's Japanese Godzilla, there's Hollywood Godzilla. This one was the best one I've ever seen. Godzilla, period. Like I think it's like 98% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and like 8.3 or 8.4 on IMDb. If you're the type of person like I don't want to watch that because it has subtitles and it's all Japanese, it's very, very easy to follow. Takes place at the beginning of World War II. You guys know me. I'm a big history buff. I used to teach history. I love how they tied in the whole origins of Godzilla. I won't rant too much on it, right? Because we got to get back to crypto. I understand. But yeah, you get to see how Godzilla came to be. And it doesn't feel quite like it's just a regular Godzilla movie. It literally feels like a war movie mixed in with Godzilla with a really good script, great acting. Best Godzilla movie, hands down. I highly recommend going and see that movie. Godzilla -1. Highly, highly recommended. And yes, I did see Shin Godzilla in the past. All right. What do we have here? Praetorian. Thanks, Max. You're very welcome. Let's welcome Praetorian, guys, if you haven't done so. And Dennis Leal is also back. Glad to have you back. Let's read this from Legrand Commission. Last BTC halving, according to Legrand, was around May 2020. From that point, it hit a 7x to the top of the bull run in 2021. That said, you know what time it is. Yes, thank you for pointing out, Legrand. And welcome back. Legrand Commission. Oui, oui. Merci beaucoup. All right, let's get into what we got. Do appreciate you guys being here. Let's tie it back to the whole thing with the BSV thing. So again, try to remember everything we just talked about tonight in regards to you know, the news from Investor Place about BTC and so on. Don't know why I didn't have my branding up, but anyway, give me a follow, please, over on the X platform at DPG Maximus. Also, give a follow to our fellow brother, Mr. Will Fix, over there at Will Fix 7. All right. So, how do we realistically tie in the whole thing of what was presented with BSV? Well, check this out for yourself. It involves a little bit of mainstream news, a little bit of extra research. You're not going to be disappointed when it comes to this. And I also want to give a shout out to BSV Stacker for saying, "Hey, Max, you need to do a video on this. It'd be pretty cool to get into it." So I do get credit where credit's due. BSV Stacker, thank you so much for the research. Again, guys, we are a community blockchain and DLT enthusiasts, and we share research. If you want to be a sideline reporter, again, just give me a follow over here. You can tag me, and if it's worthwhile, we'll share it. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, right? All right, let's pull this up. This is what you've been looking for, hopefully, Mr. Lionel Richie. All right, so you're going to see a guy that you may not like to stare at, but guess what? It's you know who. It's the one and only Mr. Gary Gensler. Well, what is up with this? Well, look at this for a second. BSV Stacker posted this, and he says, "Get ready, because this will be wild. They know that BTC isn't the real Bitcoin." And he says, "Let's effing go," right? Posted from USA Today. We're going to get into some of this key highlights. I mean, I like the screenshots. It says Satoshi Nakamoto's idea of Bitcoin broken by ETF, SEC chairman claims. Did he really say this? Did Gensler really say this? Yes, the answer is yes. We'll share that in a bit. And here's the recent interview. We'll show you that interview. Basically, Gensler stated in this message, he explains why he believes the current version of Bitcoin stands far away from the original vision of its mysterious creator, Satoshi Nakamoto. Why would Gensler even say anything about this, right? I'm not saying I'm pro Gensler. God, no, right? But if anything, I think Mr. BSV Stacker is right. It's worth pointing out. So let's take you to this. All right. Here it is, straight from USA Today. This, again, was just a few days ago. And look what's mentioned here. Once we pull it further down, you'll see this was on Saturday, January 13th, the same day as that Investor Place report. And I'm just going to take you straight to the tweet, or the repost, I should say, that was shared on X. So we had disapproved a number of these over the years, and something had changed, says Gary Gensler on Bitcoin Spot ETF. Taking a new court decision into consideration, we move forward. I think this is the most sustainable path forward. Well, let's speak for itself. This actually was originally posted Friday, and then of course it was, reshared on X. Or I should say reshared on, USA Today. Mainstream news, right? Sometimes we do share the mainstream news. All right, let's let it speak for itself. Let's go ahead and play this. Here we go.
Let me start by asking.
Let me rewind that for a second. About 5.5 minutes. The whole thing is worth pointing out. All right, so I'll be back in just a minute. Here we go.
Let me start by asking you this. Do you consider the decision historic? And it appears that it's a decision that you made either reluctantly or perhaps even begrudgingly.
Well, look, Andrew, this has been considered for a long time. As you know, starting under Chair Clayton, we had disapproved a number of these over the years, and something had changed. I'm a deep believer in the rule of law and a respect for the courts. And taking a new court decision into consideration, we move forward. I think this is the most sustainable path forward.
So it appears, though, from what you're saying and reading through the decision as well, that what changed is not necessarily something inherent to crypto or Bitcoin per se, but what changed was what the courts did. Is that the way to think about this?
Well, again, we do everything here at the Securities and Exchange Commission within the law and within how the courts interpret those laws. And that's what the American people expect, and that's what we do here.
What is your message to investors about Bitcoin now? Because we're going to have all sorts of public investors now potentially have access to Bitcoin in a way that they didn't before. We were just talking to Larry Fink. He said that he got a huge wave of new investors getting into Bitcoin through this ETF. You have still suggested to be cautious about it. And I'm trying to understand how you think about those cross currents in terms of the message you're telling investors.
Well, look, Bitcoin itself, we did not approve, we do not endorse. This is a product called an exchange-traded product, a way that investors can invest in that underlying non-security commodity called Bitcoin. But yes, investors, I think, should be aware that the underlying asset is a highly speculative, volatile asset. And amongst its use cases is really for illicit activity, money laundering and sanctions and ransomware and the like. And I know that you've asked other people over the last few days, is it being used as a store of value? It's a speculative, volatile store of value. Is it being used as a payment anywhere? Are we buying cups of coffee with it? Not really. The only payment mechanism it's being used for in sort of in a primary sense is illicit activity. So I think you've been spot on about that, Andrew.
So just on that note, Mr. Chairman, this is out, and I'm not going to take either side on the whole thing, and it's kind of funny. But these are, I don't know the exact units, but if you look since 2017, what's been used to launder money, 20,000 is the unit for, 20,000 is the unit for $1. 33 is the unit for Bitcoin. So that's a multiple of I don't know how much for dollars being used for money laundering versus Bitcoin. But now I could see Bitcoin bears saying, really? Well, it's not even good for money laundering. Then it has zero value. I could just see that as another arrow in the quiver for the bear case. But the question I wanted to ask you was this: let's take the continuum. Let's take the rat poison, Beanie Baby, Jamie Dimon, Charlie Munger versus we had yesterday on our Coinbase CEO. Did you hear him make the case for Bitcoin? I mean, it was almost like a symphony to Bitcoin bulls, Chair Gensler. The proof of work, akin to gold. Every monetary aspect we've had for thousands of years is represented perfectly. And Tom Lee, there's never been a mistake on the blockchain out of trillions of transactions. You understand it. You taught at MIT. Which is it? Is it a Beanie Baby in your view, or is it something that has inherent value that's going to be part of the financial system decades from now? Which is it?
Look, no doubt there are innovations within this field, and those innovations, which I taught about at MIT around a ledger system. It's just an accounting system called the blockchain technology. But there's an irony in the midst of this. Satoshi Nakamoto said this was going to be a decentralized system. And finance, this has led to centralization. Think about the irony of those who say this week is historic. This was about centralization and traditional means of finance that investors who could already express themselves in Bitcoin, you could already, before this week, buy it through major brokerage houses. But now you can buy it through this thing called an exchange-traded product.
Exchange-traded products. We're going to see more exchange-traded products. The point I wanted to share with you guys in regards to why we share this period is, like when he mentions innovations, how can you actually consider BTC like advancing consistently, being innovative and so on? There's a scalability issue. Right. We're preaching to the choir at this point. But if anything, this is something I want to bring to your attention. And to wrap it up on this segment, what about Craig Wright? If he's really Satoshi Nakamoto, then what happens when crypto regulations will come into effect? And would it basically make life a lot easier, not only for Craig Wright, but also for BSV in general? Well, we have an answer for that. And if anything, check this out for a second because it'll bring light to the subject. All right. I literally fast forwarded to this part. I think you guys know what the answer is, but nonetheless, check this out. Let's speak for itself. Here we go.
How would Bitcoin SV be affected by any kind of regulation that you think should be introduced that isn't there now?
Oh, we won't at all. I mean, we've always been sort of working to stay within all of the legal frameworks in this country. So it'll just make our life easier as everyone else has to now start doing things that we've been doing already.
I wonder whether there's a contradiction between the government saying we want to regulate crypto in the UK and we want to make the UK a sort of hub for the crypto business. I would have thought the crypto business would really go away from a place that is highly regulated.
Crypto maybe, but not blockchain, not logistics. So the real applications that the government wants to see are not crypto. So if you're talking about sort of say like Unisot and tracking the movement of fish,
Supply chain.
then that has nothing to do with trading on crypto markets.
But that doesn't really need regulating, does it?
But I mean, it's covered under law. So, I mean, there's no, they self-regulate. They don't go out there touting themselves.
I think when the government,
money.
I think when the government talks about regulating, it really means protecting consumers from being ripped off.
But the difference here is Unisot aren't like many of the ICO people who go out there promising the world and not delivering. So instead of building a company and seeking to increase sales and the old-fashioned way, these other people want to get the money first and then pivot.
One of the things you said at the workshop was that you wanted to see nChain doing a better job of sales and marketing. I mean, so I suppose my question is, I don't really know what goes on at nChain, but doesn't Bitcoin technology or BSV sort of just recommend itself to people who understand this stuff? Does it really need to be marketed in the way that a business or a consumer product would?
How do you know about it?
Well, I suppose if you're in that sector, that's part of your job, isn't it, to know what's available in
Which
technology?
sector?
Supply chain, media, all sorts of areas, I suppose.
But why would these people know about things that haven't been created yet? So, for instance, we have solutions that would suit DHL, and when we scale, it'll become even cheaper, etc. But if someone's out there telling them, there's going to be knowledge. If there's no one telling them, then how do they know? I mean, there's a blockchain thingy, and there's like 20,000 other ones that promise to do a whole lot of things. How do we know yours actually does?
It's just that everyone always draws the comparison between blockchain and the internet, but people didn't have to go out and sell the internet to entrepreneurs.
Wrong. I went to parties by Cisco from Sun. I got flown around the world when I was young because of Digital Equipment Corporation. No, I mean, Interop. If you think about the Interop conference that we're around the world every year. Big, massive conferences, multi-day events.
Trying to encourage people to start businesses on the internet.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, huge. Cisco conferences I went to, they had celebrities and all sorts of things. I mean, far more than the crypto waste industry now. They've wasted even more in the .com boom. So,
I mean, one thing about nChain is that I know that when you were in the early days of Bitcoin, when you had your own company, De Morgan, in Australia, you were developing specific applications like for the cinema chain Hoyts, and also you had a smart meter company, Grey Fog. Why aren't you creating those specific business ideas at nChain rather than having this sort of grand overview of everything?
well, I mean, we're creating the technology that will run it all. So we have to scale and make Bitcoin more robust. So to do all these things that I want people to do, I need to basically take Bitcoin to where it's going to scale to billions of transactions a second.
Do you guys want to leave it at that? I mean, to run it all, billions of transactions per second. Pretty crazy stuff. Run it all is pretty massive. We'll play a little bit more about this, but it's good stuff. Here we go.
But I thought it was all done and dusted from the day it was released.
No, of course not.
But what about this protocol set in stone?
Oh, protocol's one thing, the code's another.
Oh,
I mean, you
okay.
don't need to change. You can run WinSock, which will connect to TCP/IP, and WinSock from 1988 will still connect to the internet. It will be single-threaded, and it will probably do 1K per second. And if you want to watch that movie on Netflix, you'll probably have to have 3 days worth of download before you get 5 minutes. But technically, it's the same protocol.
How do you describe what it is that you're doing that is not the protocol then?
So the sort of ability to distribute and send data. So I said there'd be big blocks, but I didn't describe how that will happen. And I said at the time, blocks of the size of 2 DVDs or more, even for where we should be now. And as you know, that's 10 gigabytes. So I'm talking now about over a terabyte. And if we're talking terabytes worth of data, and it's not minutes, you have to be able to send those in 3 to 5 seconds. Now,
I just want you guys to think about something here, okay? Just hear me out. Whether you're for Craig Wright being Satoshi or you're like, nah, he's fake Toshi. What is one thing that is consistent with a, pathological or compulsive liar? They always have to think about what they're going to say, especially how it rolls off the tongue and so on. You don't see anything about this guy trying to come up with stuff of, well, did I say this back so many years ago? When it comes to these block sizes and so on. No, it's all natural. I do want to at least point that out. Let's play a little bit more about this.
now, if you think about it for a moment, can you copy a terabyte of data from your hard drive at home in 5 seconds?
No.
No. So we have to have distributed systems and new ways of actually multi-threading data so that we can actually do this quicker than most people think is physically possible. And in doing that, we've had to invent new technology, new methodologies, all sorts of things.
But people who are not involved with that work can still go on using Bitcoin in exactly the same way that they did on day one when you released it.
Oh yeah, that'll work the same. But the distinction is it won't hit some hurdle where the transaction cost goes up to $30 or $40.
There you go. Hold on a second. Because I know sometimes you can hear me if the volume's playing. So yeah, it won't go up to $30, $40. You're not going to hit all these crazy, thresh or where it gets to the point where it's just slow tech, if you will, right? That's one thing that's obviously stand out with BSV. But yeah, in conclusion, I want to share some of those key things with you guys. I think obviously with correct, I guess you say legislation that makes sense, proper crypto regulations and so on, it is going to be a win for BSV. I've seen naysayers from the other side, BTC Maxi, say, nope, with proper regulations, you guys are sunk. But you want to know something? Time and time again, when it comes to innovation, it's the innovators, right? So if you have old tech, that's like kind of like dinosaur technology, as the saying goes, why would that prevail over newer and more innovative solutions? And especially if we're talking about Bitcoin, as in this is the original protocol, the original Bitcoin with, maximum scalability and then some, why would it be in favor of BTC? And I get the whole thing of store of value and so on. And if anything, I get where some people actually, and I've seen some people, they own both, but I'm going to go with the one that's more innovative. Why? Again, it's just history. So with that said, thanks for watching that particular segment. We're going to get into more of what we have for you guys tonight. Please smash the like. Let's get back into the comments here in a bit. What we have next for you is going to be the stellar segment And then to wrap things up for the night will be Stronghold, believe it or not. And it was interesting to see some of the latest updates in regards to Stellar, Sorbonne, and all that. So if Stellar's your thing, you're in for a real treat tonight when it comes to that. We turn off the branding for a bit because we're no longer talking about BSV for tonight, but that was interesting. They see the whole thing from Gary Gensler's point of view. And then, of course, share that little tidbit from Dr. Craig Wright. All right. We're going to pull the branding back up for my X right there. And let's jump into the next bit of comments if we have anything. Let's check out to see if you guys have any specific comments. All right, let's go further down. I think you guys pointed out something. I think Richie Rich, I don't know if I welcomed you earlier. Good to see you, Mr. Richie Rich. Oh, yeah, I was going to point out the whole thing of BSV on Coin Market Cap. We'll point that out just for a brief moment. Hold on a second. So, yeah, let's see what we got in that regard. I think it's right here. Yeah. This, it is worth pointing out. I guess I'll put the branding back up for a second. So this won't take long, but basically the reason why I think Mark is pointing out for us is, for one, it's not a nothing burger. And number two, look what it says. Who are the founders of BSV? Blockchain tech company Enchain, we showed in the video. Developed the BSV node software, has regularly delivered protocol updates, so on and so forth, right? It says Enchain chief scientist Craig Wright, who is widely known as the pseudonymous creator, probably not pronounced that right, I apologize, of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, no reference to being fake Toshi, has been in support of BSV since the split between BCH and BSV in 2018, following the proposal of controversial protocol changes by several BCH developers. I didn't see it stutter, so that was cool. Glad to reference that. All right. Let's kick it back to the comments once again. And let's see. All right. So we got to jump further down. All right. Let's read this from Praetorian. He wishes everyone the best in this crypto journey. Thank you. Praetorian, we hope to see more of you. Consider changing your avatar. Something speaks about more who you are, what you're about. And guys, if you haven't done so, please welcome Praetorian. He also says, guys, don't trust the exchange. They can shut us down. Yeah, if anything, go cold storage. And if you want, obviously, like I mentioned before, links in the description if you're interested. Get stable coins on Bull Run. Or heck, get some now if you want, it's up to you. Want to know something? This is kind of sad, but I just figured out maybe about a week ago that Order 66 is Deniu. Like I was like, I think it was a different guy, but anyway, thank you for supporting us over on X. Really cool feature from StreamYard that they're doing now. Boomer F and Sooner's in the house. Good to see you, Mr. Boomer F and Sooner. Every day somebody could be at the 30-yard line and then make it to the 20 to 10 and have a touchdown. Or if you like Max, you don't really have many touchdowns, according to Mr. Michael Cornwell, but that's okay because someday it will happen. All right, let's go further down. Tim Shea says he's so corrupt, referring to Gensler, obviously. Blackwood, welcome Blackwood. Vanguard, you can either wait a decade or so for a chance at millions in crypto, or you can work for us and get paid immediately. Gary, I'm in. That's a good one. Yeah. You sold the soul. The Benedict Arnold of crypto, right? Praetorian, Max, we cannot forget that in the bull run, the exchange can shut down on us or lock us out. Oh, like you pointed out before. So the stablecoin is the way to avoid the ordeal. At least we would have the time to secure your gains. Okay. All right. This dude has turned what is that into art? Good point. Thank you for that, Richie Rich. Let's go further down. Let's read a few more. Mark says when Craig wins against the crypto scammers next month, he will buy a Bitcoin style cake and celebrate. Gotta get the right one though, right? You gotta have the cake that's gonna have this icon, right there. Right? Can't be the slanted one, as we know. Anyway. All right. We got David B, who's in the house. Innovation always wins. That's just, I mean, that's just a basic rule, right? I'm glad you look at it that way. Cool looking dog you got there. What do you got there? Let's see. A dog and a cat getting along pretty nicely. That's cool. Right on. All right. Corey B. Bay. Big news on Stella Soab on January 30th. Let's go. All right. Well, thank you for that in that voice, Corey. Mark, hit the like. Max is spreading truth. Thank you so much. Jack Thompson, welcome back. He says, shalom, good night, everyone. Crypto wealth and perfect health from Jack Thompson, straight from Tucson, Arizona. About a little over 125 miles southeast of where I'm at. Anyway, good to have you here, Jack. All right. We're at the hour mark. We're having a good flow tonight. Let's jump into the Stellar XLM. And let's go ahead and turn on some of the branding for that as well to kind of help with the bookmarks and so on. And here it is. All right. So what do we have in regards to that? Well, we have a little bit. So let's go ahead and share this as well. All right. So I'm going to pull this up. It comes straight from Stellar. And here it is. What is this? Is this a nothing burger? Nope, not a nothing burger. Look what it says. Open Systems, the blueprint for a connected future. Published on January 10th. I just discovered it, but it was retweeted and shared, of course, from Stellar, their official one on X. But this is good stuff. I like this. It states the concept of open systems emerged as a solution to counter the fragmentation that initially characterized the first wave of computer systems and, of course, their applications. In the case for open systems, creating an interoperable, integrated world, the Stellar Development Foundation explores historical context. If anything, we're learning a lot about history tonight, are we not? Lots of references, right? Core principles, real-world applications, open systems, emphasizing their role in fostering innovation, transparency, and equitable access to the tech. They got this white paper here, if you will. No, it's not a white paper about Stellar XLM, but it states it begins by revisiting the origins of open systems in the late 80s. Don't you like how I kind of tied in those other examples? We gave you some historical examples of gold ETFs. Then we went to the BSV segment, showed Dr. Craig Wright referencing some old protocols from the 80s. Hence another one. Anyway, I don't know if anybody ever catches some of those things I do, but whatever. It does highlight the Unix operating system, a pioneer of standardized program interfaces and third-party collaboration. Talks about some of these ecosystems, HTTP, for instance, right? But it states how, for instance, you know, even HTTP was dominated by a small group of players whose walled gardens, and you think who they're referencing there. I mean, some people say, well, they're referencing Gilbert Verdi and Quant. Maybe it's just a common thing that they all say, but I thought that was interesting. Wall gardens restrict user choice and stifle competition. So how do we have all these working together? That's the bottom line, right? Well, there's a cage for open systems in an integrated world. And one thing you're going to notice here when we get more into it is constant references to interoperability, references to the US policymakers. And if anything, when I got more into this, I thought it was interesting. And if anything, shout out to Will Fix, because on one of his videos, he had this whole thing about like Ripple XRP working with the government and so on. And of course, he gave a shout out to Crypto Hulk, but it wasn't just Hulk. You know, you saw, for instance, Zach Rector talk about this. You saw some other content creators talk about it, and everybody kind of gave their own 2 cents. But I didn't want to hop on that bandwagon because the way I look at it, they did a really good job on it. If anything, I want to bring it to you guys. Is there really a connection when it comes to Stellar and the US government? Or do you feel it's like, well, yeah, there is, but is there anything solid? We'll get more into that here in a bit. But what I want to pull up is this actual thing in regards to this topic from the Open Systems paper. Now, this, of course, is a PDF that I decided to get more into. And in this PDF, I'm going to come out of the frame for a second because I want to put emphasis on this and not me. You will see some interesting things. So for one, It goes up to this part on page 14, protecting and promoting open systems. Again, remember I was just talking about this? The role of the public sector. Talks about interoperability, connected technology, innovation, completion. Look what it says here for a second, though. We go further down, and it references the United States government consistently. Open end systems accomplish many key public policy objectives, promoting operational resilience. And you get more into it. Stellar has these recommendations which are designed to support U.S. policymakers in their efforts to encourage growth and development of open systems. References the government again, develop a U.S. government expertise. U.S. government should build human capital within relevant federal agencies and departments on open systems through training and professional development opportunities, including rotational assignments in the private sector, companies that build on or contribute to the maintenance of open systems. So again, I want to point this out because you saw our BSV segment, and when this gets chopped up, maybe you guys didn't see it. But the point is constant reference to open-end systems. This type of firsthand technical experience and learning is essential to fostering a baseline proficiency in open systems among career civil servants. Once again, back to the reference of U.S. policymakers. Look at this for a second. Standardized data sets, classifications, confidential, sensitive information. U.S. policymakers should ensure that open systems actually improve outcomes and do not endanger individuals or organizations. Clear guidelines should be presented to prohibit the release of sensitive and personally identifiable information. I mean, we're not talking about JASMY tonight, right? But that stands out for JASMY's utility, does it not? So the point is, I'm going to come back into the frame for a second, is basically understanding the greater picture of all of this. You know, the narrative. We talk about the next step forward when it comes to proper regulations. But if anything, my takeaway for you guys is understanding the bigger players that are sitting at the table, if you will, that have the solid innovation, that have the solid utility to get the job done. We talk about regulations, say what you want. But Taro Kono introducing DFFT, data free flow with trust, is the template or blueprint that is now being used in Europe. And then we use that template over here in the United States. It's not called the same thing, but when you look at it side by side on the comparison, it's literally the same. How do we go from all of that to the next step? Notice what Stellar's doing here. They did what? They write a paper literally giving what they consider the blueprint for proper regulation. And I think you're going to start seeing more and more about this, where there's interviews from top leaders for other blockchains and so on. This is the narrative. Why write this all out if it's for nothing? It's not for nothing. So talks more about the supportive creation of public projects. Look at this for a second. Open Data DC support creation of community-led data-based applications and use cases. U.S. policymakers should support the creation of similar engagement opportunities that drive practical use cases, support the adoption of open-end systems and their designs. Look at this reference. You're going to love this too, especially if you're a quant fanatic. Promotes interoperability as a significant federal prerogative. U.S. policymakers should identify areas that could benefit for greater interoperability, common technical standards such as data portability, message forms. Gee, I wonder what the message forms would be. Think about it, guys. ISO 222, fully implemented by when? Late November 2025. Digital identity. Again, we're not talking about JASMY tonight, but that's what really stands out for them. And develop policies that promote the use of open formats, protocols, and public projects. Say what you want. If you're a BSV fan, you already understand the whole significance of IPv6. Look at this for a second. Sound policy should also maintain interoperability both within and between systems, prevent a formation of walled gardens. Again, back to the whole Gilbert-Verdian reference all the time. But when we get into this again and again, I won't do it all night long. U.S. government there, U.S. government here, White House, Department of Commerce, Science and Technology Policy, public-private cross-collaboration, and just goes on again. U.S. government already major source of funding in scientific and engineering research development. That part right there kind of hints the whole thing of, are we going to make a budget for the future for investing into innovation for blockchain and DLT? And I think honestly, the answer is yes. I'm not a fortune teller and I ain't predicting the future, but when I see things like this, I would say, yeah. Look at this for a second. And then, yeah, we're not talking about DAG tonight either, but look at this. Increase the share of R&D from agencies, departments like the National Science Foundation and Department of Defense. If that doesn't make me FOMO more into DAG, in which I don't hold yet, I get it, but it makes me want to. Toward open source projects, initiatives, bolster the growth, development of open, integrated data and knowledge infrastructure that could benefit private industry and maintain the United States' competitive edge internationally. Now, again, it's not a quant segment. Say what you want. Remember the research that we dropped last week? Last week, that whole thing of quant positioning itself for the US and literally reading all this same terminology about walled gardens and preventing all this from happening. Look at this. United States again, US again. So it's all there. And if anything, I'm going to drop it into the comments for you guys. If you want to nerd it out, you're definitely welcome to do so. But check this out for a second. It's all there. You can verify it for yourself. I am going to call it, and I'm going to maybe reference it a little bit later. What's the date today? 1/16/2024. I honestly think by the end of 2025, we should already been to where we need to be with this particular paper. And if anything, why cite a paper? Well, why wouldn't you cite something? You know, back to the days when I was teaching, you had to have two sources, if you will. Well, what's the extra source here? Don't have it tonight, but if anything, you can source the material for yourself because you have a broader understanding that something had to be sourced somewhere in reference to the bigger plan. And the bigger plan is regulations. They're going to be coming sooner than I think most people think. And in closing, the reason why I'm bringing it to you guys is I want to state this. So basically, it's like this. The significance of open systems, and in particular, right, when we talk about the United States government and Stellar's role into the whole bigger picture, open systems, if you weren't aware of it, design is significant, of course, for the U.S. government for many reasons. Some of the ones you saw in that paper. I'll get to a few key ones, about 4 of them. If you understand the bigger picture, it's like this. And this is, again, just some of my notes. Increased competition, innovation. Remember I was talking about innovation, especially with BSV earlier, scalability and all that. Open standards, because, Gilbert Verdi is always talking about those standards. And interfaces allow multiple vendors to compete for government contracts, driving down costs and encouraging innovation. So even if you're a person, you're like, I don't want the government involved, because that's centralization, not decentralization. True, but what about those costs being drove down and encouraging more innovation? Because maybe we have, like that paper mentioned, the funding definitely hints a lot about the funding. Flexibility, adaptability, open systems, if you're not aware of it, can be more easily upgraded, modified, and integrated with other systems. Gilbert Verdian talked about this, right? That's the beauty of the overledger, as they are not locked into proprietary technologies. This is where I have a real issue with BTC, because how can you really legitimately get the job done? People can say, well, BTC does have interoperability with all these other things. Okay, what's the one that's going to throttle everything? Be stuck in the mud? It's going to be BTC. It's too slow. About enhanced security, transparency, openness allows for greater scrutiny of system components, potentially leading to improved security and reducing some of those vulnerabilities. Because just like a Windows update or any other particular update of software and so on, you're not going to just settle for what's currently there because it might be buggy, right? You have to have proper upgrades. All right, these two things. What about enhanced security, transparency? Right, totally. Greater scrutiny of system components potentially lead, of course, to improved security and reduces vulnerabilities, interoperability, collaboration. I don't need to talk you guys ear off about that. But one thing I do want to point out in regards to that paper, Stellar's open systems, what's called the blueprint for a connected future, that particular report, that of course was published January 10th, just a few days ago. But it does highlight specifics on how open systems, of course, can benefit the US government. And man, did it do a good job of getting into that if you look more into it. So for me personally, I think it's kind of like the blueprint for policymakers because they do have policy advocacy. Stellar could advocate for open system principles through policy recommendations and engage with policymakers. I actually think that's going on behind the scenes. I don't know for sure, but why write it all? In that paper, if it was a nothing burger, I mean, boy, that would be the nothing burger of nothing burgers, would it not? What about pilot projects? We're always seeing pilot projects, hence Sorbonne and so on, where that's going, right? Stellar could very well collaborate with the government agencies on pilot projects, listen to this, to demonstrate the benefits of open systems implementation. All the people that are flooding Stellar as we speak, it's not moving because it's not there yet. It's like, as the saying goes, you got to give things time, not to reference Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Well, they haven't come yet, but it's built and they're consistently building other pilot programs. What about the technical expertise of all this? Well, for instance, keep in mind, Stellar could provide technical expertise and support to agencies implementing open system approaches. And this is something we want to point out for a second. I'm not a big fan of the World Economic Forum, right? I'm not. But I do recognize Danelle Dixon is over in Davos as we speak, and they're talking about some things behind the scenes. And for some of the things that we've seen that's not behind the scenes, where they have pictures, video, and so on. You're trying to tell me that Stellar isn't providing technical expertise to, for instance, the WEF about some of these things, and the other agencies are behind the scenes, maybe because of NDAs and so on, about open system approaches and the bigger picture. I think that's totally going on. Just going to call it on that. Teach his own. Now, what about some examples, just real quick, about current U.S. as the United States governmental applications of open systems? I'm not going to bore you with the technical details of all of it because I sound like a super nerd, but there's a thing, it's called MOSA. Now, hear me out about this. MOSA is called a Modular Open Systems Approach and is part of the Department of Defense. Listen to this for a second. This is good stuff. MOSA uses an open standards and interface to create more adaptable and interoperable military systems. Wow. The United States Web Design System, which is called WSWDS, is a shared set of design components and code that government agencies can use to create consistent and accessible websites. And last but not least, listen to this, 18F Design System. Were you aware that was developed by the United States Digital Service? I know it sounds like a weird term. It's a system that provides reusable components and guidelines for building modern and user-friendly government websites and applications. And to have Stellar referenced in this paper to point towards all of this, if they're not working with the government, then somebody tell me what's the bigger picture. Now, I get it, guys. While concrete details about Stellar's current level involvement with the U.S. government on open system initiatives are currently unavailable because, let's face it, probably because of NDAs and it's the government, for crying out loud, the report and potential collaboration avenues suggest an evolving relationship. Again, reference back to the whole thing of that paper. Read the whole thing. You might be glad you did, because it is crucial to understand the active monitoring and track upcoming developments for a clear picture of their engagement. Will we see more of these particular papers? Well, possibly. But my thing is this: actions speak more loudly than words, do they not? So if you see them doing these things behind the scenes, well, it just kind of makes you come to the conclusion of why. And if the answer is why, because we don't understand the bigger picture for Stellar, understand the United States government is doing something because we've seen evidence to support that they have. And what is a perfect example? for all the people who are saying the United States is anti-blockchain and DLT, it is quant, because what you've seen back with Project Hamilton, with, for instance, Quant Network, we're working with MIT and the United States Federal Reserve. So that was a real thing that was speculative, that was confirmed, right? At the end of the day, the overall design that holds to be significant, or hold water, if you will, of the potential for the United States government and Stellar's quote-unquote report, well, it could play a very valuable role in advancing just that, Stellar's adoption for all of us. Now, it sounds like I'm probably wrapping it up on that part, but I'm not. I want to point this out real quick. This is in regards to Sorbonne. This is big. So check this out for a second, straight on your screen. We finally have a date when it comes to Sorbonne, right? Well, what is this? So for one, officially 2 weeks from January 30th. Why would they point out the 30th? That means they are 2 weeks from the Protocol 20 vote, which brings Sorbonne, yes, to Stellar mainnet. Now we're finally getting deadlines. Is this a nothing burger? No, I don't think so. But basically speaking, let's pull this up as well. And here it is, because we're always talking about Sorbonne. And it's this rollout. Stellar Networks phased rollout of smart contracts. Remember the original publishing date, December 19th? But it talks about what they're trying to do for the last 2 years in regards to the existing network functionality. Of course, that milestone I pointed out, I think, a while back with you guys. But validators have agreed to do what, guys? Do this January 30th vote on the mainnet upgrade to Protocol 20, and it should give the ecosystem time to prepare by installing relevant software. So I think this is going to be big, and we'll pay more attention to it, if anything. But your main key takeaway from it all, like we mentioned before, is a few months ago, we talked about 40 projects going live, and then it was 70. There's an update in regards to that, right? After more than 2 years of technical discussions, hundreds of thousands of lines of code, and over 150 projects that they know of will be deployed on testnet, but the upgrade will mark the new era of Stellar smart contracts tech stack that will deliver productivity through batteries included developer experience built to scale. I think that's massive, obviously. And in conclusion, look at this. This is from the Beans app, and Stellar reposted this because we're talking about fees last week. Fees on Stellar are so low that they can actually sponsor fees within their non-custodial wallet. What does that mean for you and me? It means that the transfer cost is basically nothing, which results in a way better UI, user index, right? So basically, user interface, excuse me. Send 10 USDs to a friend, they receive 10 USDC instead of 9.9999. That is worth pointing out. Shouldn't cost money to send money. I think that's one of the slogans that they're pointing out. I, of course, shared this particular one to you guys before about, the 1 million stable coins. How much does it cost? Stellar says at number one at 0.501, and Solana is not even 401, right? They're 3 zeros, so it's not even close, not even close at all. All right, so with that said, that concludes the Stellar coverage. Up next, basically speaking, what we're going to have is the Stronghold introduction / Maximus crypto deep dive. If you enjoyed the coverage tonight, please smash the like. If anything, make sure you're subbed to this channel. Let's welcome some of you guys I just saw come in. And if anything, let's pull this off on the branding. All right, so we got Corey B. says, "It's cool, JASMY." Yes. I just don't know how to pronounce that. The action of making something obscure, unclear, or unintelligible. Gary Gensler. Oh, okay. Well, cool. Thank you for that definition. Tim Shea Max, there is a correlation between active blockchain developers and volume. The last quarter we had this many active developers was Q4 2021. Nice. That's a nice tidbit. Nice find there, Tim. See, guys, Tim Shea doesn't spray from far away all the time. He sprays nearby with the knowledge. Good one. All right, GS is back. He says, "Hello, Max and team. Glad to have you back, Mr. GS." There's a dab. And Kitsoma, love your channel. Thank you, mate. Well, thank you. You really do appreciate the content. All I ask is that you guys please share it with others and so on. I mean, that's how we grow, basically. But Kitsoma, I'm pronouncing that right. If it's Kasoma or Kasama, welcome, guys. Please always welcome newcomers. It's what we do here. And I really do appreciate that. Consider changing your avatar. Something speaks more about who you are and what you're all about. Also helps me because I can identify the picture. But you don't have to. It's not required. All right, here's a guy I've seen in a while. Bitcoin BMW. He goes, holla, y'all. XLM is next level. Hopefully you were here for the Stellar coverage, man. Cool. All right. Corey Bibe, Stellar. Let's go. Well, you didn't say let's go, so let's go. That's cool. Selmo Fudd, our brother Selmo, is in the house, looking sharp as always. Love the hip hop look. Got, the dice in the background and so on. Very, very cool. Welcome back, Selmo. Hopefully you're having a good night, my friend. Always appreciate you, man. All right, let's see here. We got April Cornwell is in the house. She says, hey, Max and everyone. Hey, everyone, because, she says it's not hey. Boomer Heffen Sooner is in the house. We welcomed you earlier. Bo Rabbit, welcome back. Love you, Truck. And Sean Francis, well, I think Miss Donnell should hold a serious barbecue for us. That'd be cool, huh? Yes. Wonder how that would work out. But good to see you, John Francis. Welcome back. And we got Rayan, who is loading. What are you loading? Is it something, is it a slow load because you have a load of castor oil? I'm playing. That's bad. All right, Rayan, good to see you, man. Or maybe that means I was lagging. Hopefully I wasn't lagging. I don't want to be lagging. Cool Kid Crypto, not Cool Cat. Where's my mate Cool Cat? I was thinking about that, man. But good to see you, Cool Kid Crypto. Just, I guess. I mean, do you guys know each other like in real life, or it's just coincidence? John Francis, hey Max, built it, but many creators were bragging about partnerships for 3 years. Yeah. All right, let's see here. You do whole XLM. That's good. All right, let's see here. Hello to you, my family, Maxie. I'm so glad to have you back, Ryan. A lot of people did bring you up, quite a bit. Obviously, we had some good jokes, but it was never out of disrespect, right? I will state this. These guys always give me crap, no pun intended, because I just say crap. Like, if I have to go away, right, Ryan, like, I have to be constantly reminded, oh, Max went away. He came back 5 minutes too late. Oh, it must be because of Mudbutt. You know what I mean? So, like, you did start a culture here, a weird culture. But anyway, good to see you. Welcome back, Ryan. Corey Bibe, Silverbond is Stellar's game changer. I totally agree. I know you guys want some of that stronghold, so we'll get in that in a bit. And that'll be the last part of what we have tonight. John Francis, I wish I had more quant instead of Stellar. But who knows? Okay, time will tell. That's a good point. Yeah, we're gonna get SHX here in a second. SHX and Velo. Yep. Elon Muff is in the house. Mike Cornwell. Good to see you, man. John Francis, I really don't trust Zelensky or Ukraine government. That's a good point. Zelensky plays piano with his, I'm not gonna say that. Check it out. Google. It is true. You guys are welcome to do that, but I'm not gonna do it on the show. Yeah, nothing against what you're saying. But hey, it's 2024. That's a good point. All right, Rain. 2026 is on the corner. You don't dare to sell out any utility coin. Just hold it no matter what. You just say another 2 year will be millionaires. Love you guys. Good point. Good point. You hold Cool Cat Crypto. You missed the BSV segment, man. It dominated tonight, but I'll chop it up for you. Good to see you, Mr. Cool Cat Crypto. All right. So let's get back to what we have. It is Stronghold. So what exactly is this? Well, most of you guys, I think for the most part, are into Stronghold and so on, and you guys have requested this for quite a bit of time. So what we're going to do now is basically give you my own key takeaway, right? It might not be anything brand new, but I promise you, I did try to find some new things that you may not be aware of. So yeah, I'm gonna give you guys kind of my own little intro / deep dive, and then I'm also gonna give you guys some new things that I found in regards to Stronghold. All right, so let's pull this up. I think this is good stuff as well. I'm gonna clear out some tabs real quick, and yes, let's talk about some Stronghold. So this is straight from CMC. You do see that Stronghold is doing pretty decent for the day, right? 0.004331. Some things I do want to point out in regards to Stronghold is that its all-time highs were slightly below 6 cents on May 16th, 2021, right? The last bull market 3 years ago. And as far as the low, they don't have the data about that, but maybe we could find that out. Maybe around 0001, something like that, from what I see so far. All right. So, I mean, if anything, still great buying opportunities, right? Basically, it's been up 64% from its all time. That's not bad. You know what I mean? All right. So, basically speaking, do we have any more information straight from CMC? We do have a little bit. So, if you're wondering what the total supply is, it's not far from the max, right? But basically, you have a maximum of 100 billion SHX, which is the token. This is built on or part of the Stellar ecosystem, built on Stellar, right? They do have this contract with Ethereum, but I think that's the original one. But from what I saw, it's built on Stellar. And currently speaking, it's ranked 695. It does have confirmed market cap of a little over 25 million, give or take. You're more than welcome to look more into the tokenomics about this and so on. I would encourage it. This is just something I want to briefly get into because, again, this is not going to be like an hour deep dive about Stronghold. But if you're wondering what their mission is, like it says, it is to basically provide fast, secure, and accessible financial services for all through their developer APIs. You can enable or you can have access, I should say, to next generation payment and financial services. The SHX Stronghold's currency is used for real-time settlement, discount, and fees for business customers, rewards, and merchant cash advances throughout decentralized finance. Now, the part where it says rewards, I did find out a little bit more information about who specifically are part of those awards. I even had a little segment from Sean Bennett that I'm going to get into. But yeah, let's take you to the site for just a moment. No, we're not going to get into the white paper or anything like that. Again, part of DYOR is also to do just that, some of your own research, right? But like it says, most token store value, SHX creates it. Stronghold's expanding payments ecosystem uses the token of SHX to build block with real world purpose. And I like this part also because it does confirm if it's built on Stellar. SHX is built on Stellar Network, one of the most energy efficient blockchain networks, using Stellar's consensus protocol, a low energy consensus mechanism achieved through a proof of agreement, which is called POA. SHX saves energy with each transaction. Of course, you can learn more. I didn't want to get to every little thing that was posted here, but you do see that you can hold it on secure wallets. I of course have a Ledger. I also have the Decent wallet. I like what you see here. Some of you guys like Tim Shea use Lobster wallet as well, so that's on there as well. That's very cool to see that. They do have a loyalty rewards program, like I mentioned before. Like it says, liquidity for DeFi. So there's a lot of stuff to get into. Play a role in Stronghold's governance. Like some of you guys are into other projects that talk about some of these things. So again, look more into the website if you choose to do so. But I did want to give you guys this. So it says, for instance, CTO and co-founder, who is Sean Bennett, right? He shared his thoughts on DeFi and traditional banking. What are some of your thoughts? It says this is a quick little snippet. I thought it was cool to share this. Want to get into this with you guys. But yeah, let's go ahead and play this as well. And it's only about 33 seconds. Here we go.
I was very skeptical of DeFi when I first saw it, but I have absolutely changed my opinion on it. I think that DeFi is here to stay long term, but I also think that the traditional institutions are also here to stay long term as well. I think what it comes down to is the use case for what you're looking at. So some use cases are naturally going to fit the decentralized space, and others are still going to want the perceived security or real security of being able to interact with the traditional banking sector and payment systems. So it very much depends on who you're working with. All
right, now let me show you, of course, a little bit more about that. So let's pull this up because we're not going to just end it with that. But basically speaking, let's share this. All right, this is cool. This gets into some things that I've talked about in the past, even from the old channel, right, that I'm no longer with. But some things are very familiar here, right? So Stronghold has confirmed that top Silicon Valley VC firms, let me just see if I'm okay on the frame. I am. Top Silicon Valley VC firms earn, yes, the SHX token via Aduro's rewards program, and this includes Craft Ventures, who invested in, and I share this with you. So you do see quite a few of these, and basically, I mean, come on, guys. There's some big names that are here. I know about Motley Fool, you know, not Motley Crue, but Motley Fool. You have, for instance, what is this other one? Plex Capital. I do know about them. Silicon Valley Data Capital. So some of these names, let's pull it up to the next one. But obviously, this one really stands out. SpaceX. Who doesn't know about SpaceX? So to see some of that is very bullish, right? At least I think so. And to pull up more about this, 5 hours ago, I remember doing a video about this, right? I think I did it like roughly March of last year. But this guy, shout out to him, Plea Des X. He says he's not definitively saying what blockchain will be used for X payments, but he's trying to connect some dots here, right? We're always connecting the dots. All speculation, fair enough. But he has SHX, Stellar, XRP, of course, you know, tagged here. He says working on a bigger map of this to include some additional connections that he has found. Now, I do remember doing a video about this, about, you know, Jed McCaleb and, you know, the whole thing of, you know, Jed McCaleb is also part of Vast. And then is there going to be that, you know, whole connection with Elon Musk, SpaceX because of Vast? And the answer was, I think so, right? You know, Vast was partnering with SpaceX, and that was confirmed last year. Like I said, Stellar and the X platform, interesting. It says, you know, for instance, Elon Musk down to X payments, half of the global financial system. Remember when, you know, Elon Musk basically said, you know, wouldn't that be something in the future? I don't know how many years down the road. I can't remember if, you know, Elon Musk said specifically like when that would be. I don't think that matters, but basically he did mention that wouldn't it be something if you saw the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, taking half the global financial system with it? Who would be the bigger player that would be part of the mix? And then look what it says when it kicks over to the left. What blockchain could be used? So, you know, some of you guys are going to be rooting for whatever one that is, right? I get it. But, you know, maybe it's not just one, maybe it's a few, but I don't know. Say what you want. Jed McCaleb through Vast already has that connection. And of course, Stellar, you know, you guys know. I don't need to talk more about it, right? So there's that. Getting more into this as well. This is also good. Let's pull this up as well. Fascinating clip with Stronghold. Hold on, let me double check something. Yep, I'm good. SHX CEO mentioned all in one clip. Listen to this for a second, because, you know, like even with BSV, we know how great that thing is that they got going on with IBM. But IBM, I think, picks solid projects with utility. So it's not just BSV, it's also like IBM is Stellar. Some people have criticized, like, hey, you know, the IBM Stellar partnership is not solid. It went away. No, it's still solid as ever, right? So NDAs, like it says, working with other large enterprises and governments. Remember, I mentioned the whole thing again about Stellar and the U.S. government. So again, I say what you want. I just love tying in things, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn because I'm a humble person, but your takeaway should be history, the government. Where is this all going, right? What are your thoughts? Yes, what are your thoughts? I want to hear about it in the comments if you choose to leave it, whether it's on the live or on the recorded video later on. But it did look like a strong hint to this particular person, and I reviewed this earlier, and I would agree. Let's play for you guys. It's under 2 minutes. Honestly, let me know what you think in regards to this. I think this is pretty cool. If it's a little bit too loud, turn down. Let me see. Hold on a second.
This comes to us.
I don't think that's too loud, but turn it as a tad. All right, here we go.
comes to us from Hans Loaded. He says, Tammy, what other world-renowned ubiquitous brands like IBM do you envision Stronghold to work with in the long term?
Oh, Lord.
I know it's a loaded question, but it's from Hans Loaded. That's his name on that's his name on Twitter. So it's going to be a loaded question. You kind of expect that.
Hans Loaded, thank you so much for the question. Now, if I was, if we are continuing to work with large enterprises, which we will continue to do. Now, do you think that they would allow us to talk about that here?
No, we will not. I still
Probably
asked the
not.
question. I wasn't
Not
asking it.
gonna
I was
happen.
simply relaying it. But we know that you have NDAs signed, and much just like anybody, unless they wanted you to know, you would do a joint press release and you would publish it to the world. But
the
you know,
sky is the limit, right? The
we know
sky's
about IBM, and that's key, right? And IBM is they're a massive player in the space. So
Yeah, I think it's really amazing to see how many people have evolved. I mean, that's not even the right question. It's like, okay, you have like major enterprises, but then you also have governments. You also-
oh, right on.
yeah.
That's right.
What is
That's
it?
right. You sure do have the governments.
Which governments can you reference?
What?
How
Yeah,
many
what-
letters are in the name of the
What
government?
continent do they reside on? Is there a continent that they're, I mean, is it like the North America continent, the South America continent? I mean, do we go big and say it's planet Earth someplace, or
what's their form of government?
oh, right, there you go. Yeah, let's do it by process of elimination.
See what I'm saying, guys? They know. It's already there. They just can't confirm it. They can't say it. So there's that. Obviously got more about this. Let me close out some more tabs real quick. I want to definitely get into this next part. This part's also really good. So let's pull this up. And this is another recent one. This is yesterday, right? So what is this? It states the position of SHX director of crypto markets was filled last year. I wonder what they have planned for 2024. Obviously, we're into 2024. But I want to share this with you guys. This is good stuff from crypto banker SHX. Research is key to understanding the direction a company is going. Hence why we always do DYOR, right? This is an open position for SHX, Director of Crypto Markets. Looking at the role description, the main focus is growing SHX liquidity and institutional adoption through Stronghold's enterprise-grade tech. And what's highlighted? Well, we'll show that here in a bit. But Stronghold, Director of Crypto Markets, SHX, San Francisco, California, crypto full-time hybrid. But here's the highlights about this specific role. The Director of Crypto Markets, SHX, will have a deep understanding of market structure, clearing, settlement, prime brokerage, and custody. This leader will take the knowledge and apply it to the development of SHX. And on the highlight, it states basically that they expect this leader to have a large network and stellar reputation with traditional market participants. The person also needs to be able to work in a distributed team and have the ability to think creatively through how markets need to adapt to support potentially paradigm shifting tech. Here's another part. What would that person do? Well, they're going to work closely with the markets team to help guide company strategy for enterprise grade infrastructure. Remember last week we talked about all these enterprise grade infrastructures, right? We assured that BSV segment, which the gentleman talked specifically about enterprise grade. There was even one from Hedera, right? The new governing council president was talking about enterprise. But on this one, it says, this person will work closely with the markets team to help guide company strategy. I read this, sorry. Infrastructure solutions to attract and broaden SHX market ecosystem. Bottom part, explore new innovative ways to partner with existing market participants, accelerate SHX liquidity growth, because that's what every crypto project wants, right? Help develop crypto in traditional markets infrastructure for SHX. And of course, there's a whole grocery list here. But a deep understanding of market infrastructure and liquidity landscape, familiarity with the cryptocurrency liquidity ecosystem. So that's good. Nice sharing that. I like that. I think I Need to retweet that. That's pretty good stuff. I'll give this guy a follow. Good info. Last part. All right. Before I give you guys my own little notes. So this is cool. I'm going to full screen this one actually. Let me come out of the frame for a second. So this one, I like this. This really caught my attention because some of us don't have Stronghold. Some of us maybe have Stellar, but we don't have Ripple XRP. And there's some of us that hold all this, but maybe not SHX, right? Or you do hold all three. It says there's only one project backed by Stellar and Ripple, and that's SHX. That is worth pointing out. So I'm gonna play this for you guys. Only 40 seconds. Let's hear what is mentioned here. Here we go.
And a little on the ecosystem. Most of you are probably aware of these partnerships that we have. Of course, IBM being a key one for us, and we continue to be a vendor of them for providing technology services. We also provided financial services in the form of Blockchain WorldWire, which was, I think, 2019 to 2021. Spring at Ripple and Stellar remain, strong connections for us. Some strategic investors, Ripple did invest in us a couple of years ago, really solidifying the bond that we had with them. So that was really nice of them to be able to do that.
Okay. So I'm sure just a little bit more with you guys. It's not a visual, but I definitely want to give you guys some notes in regards to this. So, a big request, obviously, to talk about Stronghold, and rightfully so. Glad to finally bring it to you guys. But one of the main things I wanted to talk to you guys about in conclusion to wrap things up for this whole thing with Stronghold is, that last part that stood out. One project backed by both Ripple and Stellar is that Stronghold. I thought to myself, that can't be. Is it really only one? I mean, sometimes people on Twitter, X, they post things, but I don't know. Is that really the truth? Well, why is that significant? And if anything, why did IBM choose to partner, of course, with Stronghold, right? Legitimate questions. Well, basically, it's like this. The statement of Stronghold being the quote-unquote only project backed by both Ripple and Stellar is partially true. Hear me out. While it's certainly unique in having received support for both major blockchain projects, as in Ripple XRP and of course Stellar, you got to keep in mind it's not the singular project that is in position. Both Ripple and even Stellar have, of course, as we know, collaborated with entities in various different capacities, other projects, yada yada, right? However, when it comes to Stronghold's association with both Ripple and Stellar, it is indeed significant. And of course, there's a lot of different advantages by being, backed by both of those key players. So let's face it, a given is more exposure, more credibility. Backing from these two prominent blockchain leaders lends Stronghold increased legitimacy, visibility in the particular cryptocurrency landscape, the current one that we're in. It's going to attract more users, developers, potential partners. But I know you guys get maybe tired of the whole term of interoperability, but cross-chain interoperability, you're going to see this be leveraged by both Stellar and Ripple and their tech. Stronghold potentially facilitates seamless low-cost transactions, I should say, between different blockchain networks. And of course, it helps open the whole thing of new possibilities for global payments and financial services. I mean, isn't that the whole point? Yeah, it is. What about having more access to diverse resources and so on? Well, with Stronghold collaborating, for instance, with both Ripple and Stellar, this allows Stronghold to tap into the respective tech, the talent, their market reach. I would agree with that. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. This can accelerate their development and provide valuable insights. And if anything, we're always looking for the low market cap gems out there. Say what you want. That is nice to be, have these great, huge allies, right? Now, in regards to the whole thing, in regards to IBM's partnership with Stronghold, I looked a little bit more about it. there are some key factors that stand out in regards to the partnership, and that is Stronghold's focus on financial services. And just listen to this for a second. So, for instance, IBM has strong investments in the financial technology sector, as we know. Stronghold solutions help provide a fast, reliable payments infrastructure that could basically be highly relevant for their existing offerings, like, for instance, with what IBM has got going on. SHX's utility, their potential, where could that go? Well, the native token, as in SHX, does play a critical role in Stronghold's ecosystem, as we know, but enables various functions like fee discounts. And back to the whole reference from earlier, those rewards, right? And also what is referred to as merchant financing. IBM might be interested in integrating SHX, for instance, into their financial solutions for quote unquote added value. That sounds bullish. What about a shared vision for both IBM and Stronghold? Do we have a common, denominator, right? I hate to use that term, but yes, they both express a commitment in this collaboration to make a financial service offering accessible and even more efficient. Their partnership, as an IBM Stronghold, could advance a shared goal by reaching a broader audience and streamline just that, their financial processes. That's a win. Now, keep in mind, as far as the exact reasons and specifics of how it all came together, I don't have that information, but you do got to keep in mind that Stronghold, as we know, or I should say, we recently found out, they aren't the only sole project supported course by Ripple and Stellar that is part of this space. But the dual backing is undoubtedly like awesome. And I think, if anything, to have Stronghold, ride the coattails of both is awesome, but it's a pretty cool project in itself. And the visions of all three, Stellar, Ripple, and even Stronghold, does align itself for those visions of potential benefits of integrating these respective technologies and, of course, the services. As the saying goes, it's a win all the way for all three. So, guys, I have a little bit more I want to share with you in conclusion to all this, and that is basically, the other remaining projects. Because again, this guy, nothing against the guy, but as far as it being like exclusive, like you know, Stronghold is the only one backed by Ripple and Stellar. I was gonna say I look more into it, and basically speaking, these are the three that stood out as far as the contributors also getting backing. So you guys know me. I talk about not just Hyperledger, right? But there's Interledger protocol, right? So yes, Interledger, ILP, both Ripple and Stellar are significant contributors, of course, to that, the Interledger protocol, as we know. And that, of course, enables payments across different blockchain networks. I talked about this, even with the whole thing of what JASMY is trying to do for cross-border payments for finance democracy, right? So yeah, not a single project. ILP fosters collaboration between, of course, those two ecosystems. I mean, you got to point some of this out. There's one that's called Coil. I'm not really familiar with that. Some of you guys might be familiar with Coil, but it's a monetization platform for creators. It has, in fact, received backing from both Ripple X and Ripple's venture arms, and also the Stellar Development Foundation. Just like Stronghold, that one, Coil, does demonstrate interest from both sides in fostering innovation within the broader blockchain space. So that's worth pointing out. What's the third one? Well, the third one basically is blockchain for social good. Both Ripple and Stellar have supported initiatives using blockchain tech for social good, such as financial inclusion projects and disaster relief efforts, especially when it comes to Stellar, with Stellar Aid Assist. We already know about some of this stuff. While not specific projects, these collaborations showcase shared values and, of course, goals. I could get into the whole thing about community overlapping and technical similarities, but your key takeaway should be that while Stronghold does, in fact, stand out as a project directly backed by both Ripple and Stellar, it's not the only instance of collaboration, of course, like I mentioned, or connection between the two ecosystems. There are those other ones, which is ILP through Interledger and of course Coil. There might be other ones that pop up in the future, but if anything, we try to get right with the information, and I just thought I'd point that out. So it's not me trying to step on the toes of the other guy and so on, but I decided to look more into it. That's what I gathered with my own research, right? Do your own research. So with that said, guys, that's going to conclude what we have for tonight's coverage, right? We're going to get to the last bit of comments here, and let's see what you guys got for the night. All right, let me see what you have. Guys are talking about tacos or something. All right. So we got, yes, cool kid crypto says there he is, Triple C. So that's what I want to know. You guys like friends in real life? I don't know. John Francis, tired of others hyping it up like trillions and trillions tokenization. XLM was 33 this time of the year, 2021. Just saying. Okay, I'm probably guilty of that too, but that's right. It isn't always priced, but it has been lagging. But great show, Max. Well, thank you. 6 cents would be excellent. Oh, you're talking about Stronghold? Yeah, I would agree. We have the meats. Yes, Ran. What do I know? Trillions of dollars will come through quant until 2028. Oh, I mean, that's not so many years away. Only 4 years. Quant will be good. Only 14.88 million yet. That's the max supply. I'm glad a lot of you guys know that by like memory, right? You just boom, 14.88. It's easy to remember. I don't have the link to the full thing of that. But from what I saw, Tim, is it was a live stream that was chopped up. So if you want that, I'm sure that you could probably find that because it's looked like somebody did it on StreamYard or Streamlabs or whatever they use. Mark says, buy BSV, the real Bitcoin, before it's too late. I agree with that. Good night, everyone. Well, good night, Mark. And Rayan, QNT software that will go to 200K per coin, in my opinion, not financial bias. That's all right. Tacos, man, that sounds good. All right. BSV is better than Bitcoin. You convinced me. I mean, come on. I mean, if we're talking strictly about utility and innovation, oh yeah. Yes, I knew Cool Cat was going to chime in. Oh yes, BSV. Wow. Well, you said that anyway. Interesting. Rand, it's going to make 82K per coin if it goes to $1 trillion market cap. Cool. I'm down for with that. QNT could be 500K and so on. A lot of these are going to do really well. The way I look at BSV, QNT, or XRPs or Stellars. All right. So from what I've been told, it's not a fork. I think we talked about this in the past. BCH and what was some of the other ones are like Bitcoin ABC, now called what's it called, guys? XEC or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. The eCash. There we go. John Francis, Elon, if that happened, I would buy everyone in this room an Arby's t-shirt besides Max because I have the meats. We have the meats. We all have the meats. Interesting. OG Crypto, Mr. Gangsta. Tell me about the days of way back. Muff, I find 500,000 hard to comprehend. Yeah, I'm sure it would be. Dennis Lil, Starlink, being able to connect the world. A cryptocurrency on X could dominate. No country could stop access to anything connected to Starlink. Good point. John Francis, who knows if we build colonies on Mars, QNT Stellar might be used too. Elon Musk, with quant in the middle of it, all ISO, true. It can very much happen. If BTC can be where it's at with its future potential, QNT can pass that up with its connections. Yeah. Connections to everything. Literally. QNT makes my muffin tingle. Oh my goodness. Interesting. All right. John Francis, I like QNT more and more. All right. I'm not reading everybody's comment, but I'm reading some good comments. All right. So Triple C Lazy Shaman shows on Friday. Hey, give them a shout out. I miss those guys. really see him coming around much anymore, but that's okay. Tammy and Danelle wrestle on the weekends. Oh, that would be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah. All right, John Francis equals the Pep Boys. Anybody remember them on a box of matches? Yeah, we got Pep Boys over here actually. He charged a lot more than so many other places though. All right, let's read this from Dennis Little. Velo, Asia. Ephraim, Africa. SHX, US, or us all in the Stellar Network. Interesting how projects focus on regions and then funnel to Stellar. Very smart. Part of Africa. Gotta have that XLM. Read on CoinMarketCap. I looked a lot of these projects on Stellar Network and regional pattern emerged. Huh. Jed McCaleb and the board of advisors, Velo, all connected. Yeah, you're very, very welcome. And the last one, or a Coil. Yeah, I don't know much about Coil. It's just that was part of the research when I was looking more into it. All right, so let's see here. Yeah, you're very welcome. Blackwood's got the last comment of the day until somebody, of course, makes another comment. He hopes Trek Tech happens sooner than later. Rocket off this ish hole planet as soon as possible. There's some good places, right? You just got to know where to go, right? Try to find a place where you use some of your crypto earnings, right? Went to the moon and just like, breathe some clean air somewhere, maybe Montana. I don't know. Maybe you're like, nope, not even Montana, man. I'm done with it. I'm done with it all. And that's okay. All right, guys. Well, it's been a pleasure to bring this show to you. Crypto's due for short-term pain, long-term gain at the ETF approval. If you miss any segment, you guys know how it goes. It gets chopped up later. There'll be chapters a little bit later. So when you watch the replay, there will be commercials because it does help with the revenue, but there's never commercials on the live show. So with that said, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back tomorrow, Wednesday, for more DYOR with Max and our wonderful community. Please smash the like on your way out. And if you're a hardcore fan, please share the show on X or whatever platform you use, Facebook, I don't care, whatever you want to do. Heck, share Maximus Crypto, in the house stall if you want, you know what I mean? And write the YouTube thing there and reference Rayan in the mud butt, that goes well too because you're in the house stall, right? So if you want, I don't care. It's cool. Do it. Whatever way we got to get exposure, right? Anyway, good stuff. So have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And please give me a follow on X. I do post exclusive research over on that platform. And speaking of exclusive research, I haven't had a chance to finish for the members only part. But once it's done, you guys will get it and you will see it. So have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Over and out. For the Rice Crop Consortium, let's go.